Today we're going to take a look at how to make a video with text, or a video that plays behind text, just like this.
Glacier National Park sits atop Montana as the crown jewel of the state.
All right, to do this, we're going to go down to our project panel. Down here you can see I've already got bins where I have arranged some of my elements. I've got my music, a voiceover, and a sound effect. Here I have already created the second version of my thing. This is the first, so you can see what mine looked like initially. And I've double clicked here and I now have an empty sequence to work in. And you can see my video clip. So I only have one down here right now. That's all I need for this example. Let's go ahead and take that and drag it onto our timeline. You'll notice that there's no audio associated with this. You can tell right here that there's not even a drag audio option for this. That's because this was recorded on a drone and the drone does not have a microphone. So there's no sound with this file. Because of that, we're going to put music in there, but we can deal with the music after we get our text done. So what I want to do now is create our text. There's several different ways that you can create text. If you hit Command T on the keyboard, it will automatically create a new text layer for you. You can then double click into that, Command A to highlight it, and then you can type in what you want it to say. And I'm having a hard time typing. There's things about this that I like, some things that I don't like, but I know I definitely want to edit this. Ultimately, to edit text, you will need to be in a new workspace. That's going to be Captions and Graphics. You go to Window, Workspaces, Captions and Graphics. Click on that. That will open up the Essential Graphics panel. And now if I click Glacier, you can see that I can now edit the text that I had put there. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to center it because I want it to be center justified. Meaning if I type, it's going to type and it's going to expand from the center. When you're typing in a document, you tend to do left alignment, but you could do right alignment. But in this case, we're going to center align everything. I'm then going to just go ahead and click Align Center horizontally and Align Center vertically. And now that text is smack dab in the middle of my video. And that's not bad. That actually looks pretty good. But I want, just like in my example, the text to show the video through it. And the way we're going to do this is first, let's make our text bigger. I'm going to go to, you can choose any kind of text you want. In this case, I'm going to stick with Premiere Pro, and I'm going to click bold, and then I'm going to come and just expand that as far as I can. Let's see, we've got it up to 580. There we go. I actually don't like how far apart the letters are. I'd like for them to be a little closer. That's going to be right here in the tracking for that. And I'm just going to kind of bring them in a little bit. I don't want them too close, but you know, right there looks pretty good. And I can just come and expand the text a little bit more. So I'm just going to say 700 on the text. I'm going to type that in, hit enter right here. And now my text is 700 point font. I'm going to, again, click the center, and that is going to put that in the absolute center of my video. And now once it's here, I realize that I want the text to be even closer together. So I'm going to bring it down. I'm just going to say 75 right there. Whoop. And I hit the button too many times, but there's 75 for my tracking. And at this point, I feel like maybe I could even make my text bigger. Let's make it 750. And I feel good with that. So once I've made those adjustments, I want to do my centering again. And you can see every time I make an adjustment, I'm going to need to center it exactly where I want it. All of these are different things. So if I want to align it all the way to the left, if I want to align it all the way to the right, I want to do the top, the bottom, wherever I want it, I can do that. But in this case, I'm going to center horizontally and vertically my text. All right, so there we go. That looks good. If that's what you want, I'm going to extend the front end and the back end of this to cover the entirety of the clip. But if that's what you want, which again, this looks good, But what I want is for the text to show through or to show the video through it. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to come back up here. Again, we're in Essential Graphics. Up here in the top, you'll see Essential Graphics. I'm now going to click New Layer, and I'm going to click Rectangle. Once I do that, I now have a rectangle in the middle of my video. I'm going to come up here to the arrow, see right here, the selection tool. And now I can actually click on the edges of this and expand it. And I want to expand it to fit the entire window. Now you can see none of the video behind it. I can do the same thing here that I did before with aligning things center and vertically. It fits the entirety of the window, so you can't really tell that it did that, but it did. And now I'm going to come here to where it says shape, and I'm going to click and I'm going to drag that down under Glacier. So now you can see where it says Glacier, but you no longer see the video. That's because it has a black rectangle behind it. Now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to double click on this. I can still come back here and edit if I need to change. Say I misspelled Glacier. I could come and change that by clicking Glacier, go in there and make the change to it. But once I come here, double click this, I'm going to go up to Effect Controls. Under Effect Controls, I am going to go down to here. Now we've got some graphic controls that are very specific to the graphics, but to this, I'm going to come to it like this layer, the Glacier layer is a video layer. And I'm going to come to it and I am going to select blend mode, multiply. All right. Again, whoop, there we go. Blend mode, multiply. And when I click that, you can see through the text. Now, why does it do that? If you come here and you look, you've got a lot of different options for blend modes. Multiply will take out white. It will immediately just take out the white of your image. And once I've changed it, I don't know what else it'll do there, but I'm going to leave it at multiply. I could do overlay. There's a lot of things that you can do with this kind of stuff, but I'm just going to leave it on multiply because that's the effect that I'm going for here. So there we go. I've got Glacier. Now this is going to play for the entire length of the video, and you're never really going to get the sense of awe and wonder that you actually get from looking at the video clip. So let's look at that video clip. Like, this is just absolutely incredible. I shot this last summer. This has not been edited at all. This is the clip directly out of the drone. So it was catching these incredible, cool, like purples and pinks over here, just as lens flare kind of coming in there. And then as it turns, and then you get to see the mountains across the lake, just absolutely majestic. I want to see that in my video. So I want to start, I'm telling everybody that this video is about Glacier, but then I want to expand beyond this text. And in this case, I want to go through the text and into the image. And the way we're going to do that is by coming back to the beginning. We're going to go back up to the top left. Y'all, by this point, you should have realized Effect Controls. That's where it's at. I'm going to click Effect Controls. And then here under, actually, I'm going to do this under Vector Motion. A vector is something that can expand infinitely and not lose quality. So I'm going to come here to this, and I'm going to scale this so that it eventually scales off of the screen. And I'm going to do this by clicking Scale right here, the animation keyframe. You'll notice the little clock icon out by something. Anytime you see that, that means that that particular thing can be changed over time. So this allows us to keyframe or to change the time or to change a parameter over time. So right now I don't really need this keyframe. I need it to be where I want it to change. So once the drone finishes turning, like, or really maybe once it starts turning, that's where I'm going to kind of start my push in there. So let's see, let's just see how that plays out in real time. So I'm gonna click, or there we go, starting to turn. And then right here, that's where I want to start the change. So I've already got a keyframe at the beginning. To add another keyframe, I'm going to click Add Remove Keyframes, and you'll see it did just that. I'm actually going to click on that because I don't want it to be an abrupt change, so I'm going to right-click on it, and I'm going to have it ease out of this point. This is the first of the motion, so I'm going to ease out of that motion. Now, we don't know what it's going to change to, so right now that doesn't do anything. But let's see. Once it gets to this point, by this point, when it stops, that's where I want Glacier to be off the screen. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to type in 10, and in this case, 10,000. And I'm going to hit enter. And there we go. My text is now no longer on the screen. What has happened is I have added a keyframe where it was, and I've added another keyframe where it is, and I'm going to right click on this one. I'm going to highlight it, make it blue, right click, and then I'm going to ease in. Although that doesn't really matter because this is off screen at this point. But I'm going to play this now so we can see. And there we go. It just zooms past our text. So that is absolutely perfect. That's even better than my example. I just did this better this time, and I like it more, so that's cool. So now we've got Glacier, and we're going to see our drone kind of taking off the turn, and now we're going to push in, and there goes our text. So there we go. Now, you've probably seen this effect in movies. Now you actually know how to do it. So it's really cool that you now have this skill, but it's Glacier National Park. So I want to go in, and I want to add text for Glacier National Park. You'll notice if I click here and then I come up here, I've still got the same parameters. I could change this to say Yellowstone, if that's where this was, or whatever I need it to say. It is Glacier, so I'm going to leave it as that. But I don't want to be in this particular thing. I want to create an entirely new text layer for what I'm about to do. So I click out of it. I'm going to come back to Essential Graphics. I'm going to click New Layer, Text. And now I've got exactly that, another new layer, text. It's the same parameters as the existing text, the one that I just did, but I'm now going to center this, and you see how it's 750 there. Let's make it 250 to see how small. Okay, there we go. And I don't want this to be bold. I'm going to make it regular, so it's Myriad Pro regular, same type of font, the Myriad Pro. And now I'm going to click and change this to say National Park. Now, that doesn't look good right there on top of that. So what I'm going to do is, I'm center justified. I can come here, I can align this horizontally, and then if I kind of stay in this area right here, I can adjust where that is left or right, and I can adjust where that is up or down. So again, I'm going to center it, and at this point, I'm actually going to bring it down just under that. So Glacier National Park, I think that looks good the way that it is there. So now if I play this, there we are, Glacier National Park, all is right with the world, and then my text disappears. Why? Because it ended. I'm going to extend it for the full length of the video as well, and now I want it to kind of slowly disappear as the text is growing. So what I'm going to do is when it gets to this point right here, I'm going to go frame back. There we go. When it gets to this point right here, I want my text to be gone. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to reverse keyframe this. Okay, so I'm going to click on this clip, double click, come back up to Effect Controls, and here I am going to not be working with the vector motion. I'm going to work with the video layer as a whole under opacity. And I'm going to click my keyframe. Actually, I'm going to take this down to 0 right here. And then I'm going to come back however many frames I want it to be. And I think right here is where it needs to be back at 100%. And so now from this point to this point, zooming in on that, from this point to this point, it is going to go from 100% visibility down to 0%. visibility so that by the time it gets there, it's gone. Okay, so I'm just adding simply a fade on the video layer of the text, National Park, but I'm doing it in a very controlled way so that you can see that from right here, it's at 100%, down to here, it's at 0%. I could actually do the same thing that I did before where I right click and then I ease out of this and I right click here and I ease in, and it kind of just makes it a little smoother, but you can see that adds a curve to it, and that is indicative of a smoother motion. So let's just pull this back and play, and we'll watch right here and see what it looks like. And then our text is going to fire in, and National Park fades out, and that's good. I like it. All right, so that's how you do the text there. We did a lot over here in the effect controls. We're always going to do a lot in effect controls. This is related to text, but you can do any kind of animation for any effect here in the effect controls panel. So you will definitely need to know effect controls. This is hugely important. So there we go, Glacier Park or Glacier National Park, and it plays and it's cool. But now we need to go in and add our audio. So let's go back into our project panel. Over here, we've got our bins, and I'm going to take the music that I have right here. If I want to double click it and drag it down from there, I can, or however you want to do it. You can just drag it directly over here if you want to. I'm going to look at this clip and I'm going to see, okay, this right now, I just happened to end at 21 seconds. I'm going to trim all of my video elements. Notice how I did all three of those at one time by highlighting all three of them, dragging that over. Now my video is exactly 21 seconds long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my music as close to that as possible and just see what happens. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm going to right click on the music, and I'm going to come right here to where it says remix, and I'm going to click enable remix. When I do that, it will open up here. Now you notice we were just working in essential graphics. Now we have essential sound. I'm going to come over here where it says target duration, and the song is 3 minutes, 35 seconds, and 12 frames right now. I'm going to come here and I'm going to take it down to 21 seconds, and I'm going to hit enter and see what the AI does to adjust this audio. And that did not do, I don't believe that did great. Let's see what we got. That's absolutely horrible. I'm not going to do that at all. I'm going to Command Z, get rid of that. And I don't think I'm not even going to mess with doing the remix. The remix is actually a really cool feature. But in this case, it did not work with what I was trying to go for. So I'm going to see what I can do. And I'm going to start it right here at the beginning of this sound. So I'm going to trim off the beginning of my audio and drag that over. Now I'm going to play this. And I like that where the music ends, like right there. I'm actually going to come in and trim down my video to get to the same ending point as that is. And I'm going to cut the end of my audio off by hitting C on the keyboard. If I want to turn this into a razor blade, I hit C on the keyboard. If I keep clicking down here, I'm just going to keep cutting stuff. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to hit V on the keyboard to go back to the selection tool. And then I can delete whatever it is I want. I can delete this and leave that one, however I want to do it. But there we go. So I have trimmed that. So now this plays and ends just like this. Now it's a little abrupt, so I'm going to click on the end of my clip, and I'm going to hold down Command, Shift, and the letter D. And when I did that, you may or may not have seen it, but it just added something right there. I'm going to Command Z to undo that. So if I click on the end of an audio clip, I'm going to hit Command, Shift and the letter D on the keyboard, and it's going to add a default transition. Now, in this case, I'm going to double click and see, and that transition is exactly 1 second. I want this to kind of fade out over 4 seconds. So I'm going to just type in 4 and I'm going to click OK. And now it's going to fade out. But this is a constant power transition. If I want to change what kind of transition I'm using, I can go to effects down here. And then under audio transitions, under crossfade, I can drag the exponential fade right there on top of that. And now my music will fade beautifully at the end of the video. All right, so our text comes in. That's cool. For some reason, when I see this kind of like move in like that, I feel like I need to hear some sort of a whoosh, like transition sound. So I went and I found a whoosh transition coming back over here. If you can't see your project panel, if you click this little thing right here, the 2 arrows, you can click and go back into it that way. I'm going to grab this transition. And this was just the thing I downloaded. They're all 3 the same thing. I just like the one here in the middle. So it starts right here and sounds like that. So I'm going to find where I want it to start. And I want it to start like right before the transition does, because I want to hear it like right before we see it. So let's see. I'm going to drag that down there. And that's good, but it's a little loud compared to the music. If I mute the music by pressing M and then just play that audio transition sound, you can see it's almost at 0 up here. That's really loud. So I'm actually going to right click on it. I'm going to go to audio gain. I'm going to normalize max peaks, and I'm going to type in -9, just an arbitrary number there. But that's going to lower that sound, so it won't get above -9 now. So now I'm going to turn my music back on and listen to it. And that sounded great. This sounds like something I would see in a theater now. But while I was doing this, I was like, man, this would be a great beginning to a documentary. So now I'm going to come in here and actually add a voiceover. I just recorded this onto my computer and put it through Adobe Enhance.
Glacier National Park sits atop Montana as the crown jewel of the state.
And there we go. I've got that trimmed down. I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm going to put it on track 3. So I'm going to listen.
Glacier National Park sits atop Montana as the crown jewel of the state.
Now that's a little loud at the beginning, a little quiet at the end. Let's see. I'm going to move the voiceover up here.
Glacier National Park.
Okay, so I like that, but now my music is still way too loud. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in and actually do some more keyframes. Now, we can do a lot of keyframing up here. If I click Effect Controls, when I double click on this, you'll see that we have a lot of things going on up here, where if I come to channel volume, you'll be able to see this right here. But I'm going to show you how to do this down here, because this is a good visual representation. So I'm going to hold Command on the keyboard, and I'm going to use my mouse. And you'll see when I hold down Command, there's a little plus button there. When I do that, it's going to allow me to set a keyframe. I'm going to do one right here before I start talking on my music. Actually, I'm going to come in to maybe right here and do it. So I hold Command and click, and it added a keyframe. Look, it did it up here. We could have done it up here. I'm just showing you how to do it down here. So I'm going to come back and to about right here during the middle of the whoosh. I want the sound to start fading. So I'm going to click it right there. Now I've got 2 keyframes. What do keyframes do? Remember, it is a change in a parameter. It's a change in an attribute. So right now, from here to here, there's no change. But if I click on this and drag it down, it is going to then change the volume of the music from this point to this point. You can see it right here. Again, notice how this is a straight line. It's like we're going along and then whoop, ramp down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this first one and I'm going to ease out of this. Now it's a little curved. Down here, I'm going to right click. I'm going to ease in, and now this one's a little curved. So let's play it and see what happens.
Glacier National Park sits atop Montana as the crown jewel of the state.
And I didn't, necessarily have to fade the music there. I did, just because that was the end of our clip. But I feel really good with this. We've got text that starts out and allows us to see our video through it. Then we've got our other layer of text that is going to fade out exactly when we want it to. We've added a sound effect. We've added a ramp for our volume. We've got our voiceover in there, and then we added an exponential fade at the end. I'm going to have that actually start right after the voiceover. So I feel like we've done a lot here. I feel like there's a lot that you can take and add to your next video. And that's why I do these things, is not to show you how to do it for one project. I'm showing you how to do this so you can learn how to apply this to the next project. So you can synthesize this information and you can put it to use creatively on the next project that you work on. I do not want this to be the only time we see through text in one of your videos. I want you to figure out, hey, can I use that creatively in a story? Can I use that creatively to impact and move my story forward? Or do you just want it to be a cool title at the beginning of your video? The point is, take these things and figure out how you can make them a part of your story in your next video. And every video you do should be a story. If it's a music video, make it a story. If it's a commercial, make it a story. Stories are what matter. Stories about people matter more. But always make every video you do a story, and everything you do in that video should help to better tell that story. You have a tremendous amount of knowledge and power just in the first month of this class. Figure out how to use it and make some awesome.